Welcome everyone to Kiss Meets Podcast 4K. I guess the extras for now is what we're going with for the time being. I'm one of your hosts. Technology hates us today.
That it is, yes. I also.
Yes. So having to record this show a little different today, thanks to Skype and Evair not working again all of a sudden. So hopefully this turns out all right. Can't be any worse than usual. So, um, so this week we are doing Wicked Lester. Pretty excited for this episode. I personally love this album. Was fun to sit and listen to the whole thing again. Revisiting and just good stuff about it. So, what is? Was this the first time you ever listened to the whole thing, or and if so, what was your kind of initial thought before we get into it?
Yeah, this I had, of course, poked around before anytime I could find old recordings like this. Especially, I had heard the version of She before,
Uh,
but yeah, this is definitely the first time sitting down and just from start to finish listening to the whole thing. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to expect. I went into the Chelsea album with a lot of expectations and was sorely disappointed. So I tried to go into this one without expectations and then was blown away almost. So
right.
yeah, I was definitely much happier about this week's listen.
Yeah, it's almost like this is what you wanted Chelsea to sound like.
Yeah,
So finally getting it. And again, for those out there that aren't familiar, it's not anything like the Kiss sound that you'd probably be expecting. This stuff is more, again, like it's folky at times. It's got that psych sound at times. Just really good stuff, man. You could tell, the Gene and Paul team were there right from the beginning. Like they were writing great songs. Nothing on here I felt was horrible. Again, I could easily sit and listen to this whole album multiple times, which I have. It's been a while since I've had listened to the whole thing, so it was nice to finally revisit that. And I want to say the first time I ever heard this stuff was back, of course, in the infancy days of the internet, with some of the Kiss sites that were floating around at the time, and back when we had the real audio player, which were pretty horrible quality sound files, but at the time they tried to boast it. But anyway, so some of these websites would put sound clips of random songs or demos and things like that, and that was the first I discovered all this Wicked Lester. Like, what is this Wicked Lester stuff? And oh man, what's it sound like? How'd they get this stuff? And so again, it was a total shock to hear it. Especially when I realized by the titles that some of these were Kiss songs now. Um, and then I remember back in the early days again of eBay, there was this CD-ROM that was being sold. A lot of you people might remember this. It was called the Kiss, I believe, Encyclopedia, something along that line. And it was a CD-ROM, and it covered the history of the band. It was loaded with all kinds of great photos, and the story went along, and it would be interactive. You can click on song clips as you went, video clips. I mean, it was kind of like the Kiss thing to have at the time, really. I mean, because this was, I think, right before History came out and all that, so it felt like that was like the Kiss Bible at the time. And I don't know whatever happened to my copy of it, but anyway, I think I recall some of these Wicked Lester tracks being on that CD-ROM, and that was the first time I got to hear them in full. And then somewhere along the way, finally ended up getting the full thing and all that stuff. But yeah, it was it definitely grew on me at first. It was kind of like, a couple of these songs are okay. The rest of them, I was like, eh. But then when I really sat and listened to it, and I found myself just playing those songs all the time. I used to sit at the computer for hours when I was younger, and I'd just play music, like everyone used to do. And I'd find myself playing that a lot. And And then, of course, on the Kiss box set down the road, we got more. I guess the more official versions of a couple of these tracks. They finally released them one way or another. Still have not gotten a proper release of this album. I'm hoping one day they decide to do that. Yes, there's tons of different versions of it on bootleg floating around. Good, pretty good quality, but would love to see Gene and Paul finally put a proper official release out. Um, my God, if they have, some sort of video floating around from those days, or even photos we haven't seen, would love to see something like that too. Um, so yeah, let's. I don't think we have any comments this week because again, it was kind of late getting the last episode up.
I do.
Oh well, I guess we do have a few.
Yeah, one popped up. That's strange. Yeah, Chuck McFarland commented on the Chelsea episode. He says, "I did hear Peter Criss mention at one of the recent expos that he's the only surviving member of Chelsea. I also think you will like Peter Criss Cat 1 when you get to it."
Wow, I didn't know that he was the only one left, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cat 1, I have listened to a couple tracks off of it, and I am looking forward again to listening to that whole thing. So can't wait to get to that.
Yeah. Indeed. So album info then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if you could call this official at all, I guess technically the album was called the original Wicked Lester Sessions. At least that seems to be the most common bootleg release. The name and that. This was recorded in 1972, and it was originally supposed to be released on Epic Records. So this was produced by Ron Josen, which should be a fairly familiar name. For some reason, Wikipedia also lists Eddie Kramer as partial producer, but I don't think so. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. This was actually recorded at Electric Lady Studios, which was, of course, Jimi Hendrix's studio, and the same place several of Kiss's albums were recorded at as well. Now, depending on which Wikipedia page you read, the one for this album says that Paul and Gene left soon after the album was completed to do Kiss, and that Tony Zarella, the drummer, and Brooke Ostrander, I'm not sure which one, the keyboards, attempted to keep Wicked Lester going. Now, however, if you read the actual band's Wikipedia page, it says that shortly after recording, everybody but Gene and Paul left, and then Gene and Paul continued to use the name Wicked Lester even for a little while after Peter joined.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
So it's interesting that even Wikipedia can't quite get it straight what happened there.
And if I'm not mistaken, it seems like most of those guys have been performing again fairly recently with the Wicked Lester name. I doubt Steve Coronel was involved because, I'm sure we'll get to that here in a minute, but I believe I remember seeing that within the last couple of years. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely some good stuff on here. We've got Paul and Gene, of course. They were both splitting lead vocals, and then Paul played guitar, Gene played bass. We've got Ron Lejack that played lead guitar and banjo, Brooke Ostrander who played piano and horns, and Tony Zarella that did drums and percussion. Now, it also claims that certain bootlegs have Stephen Coronel on them as well. Trying to find something that I read earlier. No, now I can't find it anywhere on this page. Anyway, apparently, after they had finished this, finally, the Epic Records label guys hated it, and they said, "We're not releasing this."
Wow.
So that's interesting. Yeah, okay, here it is. The entire recording process, which followed a haphazard schedule, took nearly a year to complete. When the completed album was presented to Don Ellis, Epic's A&R director, he stated that he hated the album and would not release it.
Huh. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean, there's so much stuff that was out at that time that it's pretty much in that same vein. So I just don't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
So also another interesting thing about this is that several of these songs are covers. So Sweet Ophelia cover, Too Many Mondays, What Happened in the Darkness. We Want to Shout It Out Loud as well. All of those covers.
really?
Yeah. So a lot of these songs weren't even Stanley Simmons songs.
Wow. Does it say anything about who originally wrote them? Or
There is writing credits here. Barry Mann and Jerry Goffin wrote Sweet Ophelia. Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil on Too Many Mondays. Tammy Lester Smith, interesting, Lester. What Happens in the Darkness. Also, Austin Roberts and Christopher Welch on When the Bell Rings. And then what's that last one? I Want to Shout was originally done by the Hollies.
wow. I'm going to have to look that up. Barry Mann, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same guy. He had a fairly big hit in the 60s. Who Put the Bump in the Bump, a Bump, a Bump? Something like that. Yeah. If that's the same guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Wow.
He doesn't seem to have a Wikipedia page, or at least not one that's connected to this. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously no singles released. This was never officially put out. We did get Keep Me Waiting, She, and Love Her All I Can on the box set. Also, apparently there was intention to release this by CBS Records, who inherited the rights from Epic. They had remixed the album, and they were gonna put it out in 1976 because of Kiss's popularity. When Neil Bogart got wind of that, he purchased the tapes, the master tapes from CBS, apparently for $137,000, so that they could shelve it so that it wouldn't be released. Specifically, they were worried that the images of them without makeup would get out.
Yeah, exactly. And I imagine they probably didn't want people to hear that completely different sound and
associate.
because this guy's not a demon after all. It just still boggles my mind though how that stuff did get out. And someone from that label or something had to have leaked it. I mean, I don't know how that stuff happens, but
But he had it somewhere.
Yeah.
It was probably Tommy Thayer. He
and of course, years later, the fairly famous album cover that was supposed to be used ended up being used by a band called the Laughing Dogs.
Right.
I actually have that record. I just forgot to pull it out, so I don't want to sit here and hold up the show trying to find it. But yeah, so kind of interesting that they just happened to choose that cover. And again, the music itself, nothing special in my opinion. That Laughing Dog stuff, mostly just got it because hey, it's the Wicked Lester cover, and cool that somebody used it.
Right. Somebody might as well have.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much all album info wise. We don't actually have anyone else's votes yet. I know the discography that we're going through isn't necessarily super clear which ones we're doing next, so I imagine that's why. But of course, don't be afraid to go ahead and put your votes in. We'll get them in there.
Right, and we're filming this the day after, not even 24 hours after I uploaded the previous episode. So again, that's my fault. But I'm sure we'll get the votes that pop in. We'll be sure to add them to these, and we'll make a more purposeful attempt, if that's what I'm thinking, to mention on the Facebook page, when we post like this episode, what the next one is, so to kind of help give you guys a heads up. But you should also watch the show because we always mention it at the end anyway. So.
Right.
All right, so let's get into this. So real good stuff here. Starting off track number 1, you guys are going to recognize this title right off the bat, Love Her All I Can. which obviously they went to re-record on Dress to Kill. And you know, I love this version. I rank this at number 4, and there's not a whole lot of major differences with this version versus what they ended up recording, other than more distortion in the guitars. Um, I like there's some extra like vocal harmonies in there that aren't in the Kiss version. During the chorus, the that kind of stuff, and yeah, just really like it, man. And it stands up to me. It stands up with Dress to Kill with that version.
Yeah, I was glad that this starts the album. Of course, we have no idea what they intended as a track listing, but this was a pretty cool, like, hard rockin' way to start.
Yes.
Immediately got me kind of excited. I definitely don't care for the way the harmony vocals sound on this compared to the Kiss version, though. These sound a bit softer, more falsetto, whereas the Kiss versions feel purposeful and powerful. It didn't ruin it or anything, but yeah, lots of interesting auxiliary percussion going on. The tamp, the egg. And yeah, like you mentioned, those extra harmonies, just the weird sort of ahs and things. Yeah, to me, weird touch. But I did rate this one at number 5. I did enjoy it a lot.
Absolutely. By the way, for those listening and watching, forgot to mention we are doing the session 2 versions of these songs, because there are 2 different session versions out there. So, and there are quite a few differences with those even. So, just for those following along. So track 2, Sweet Ophelia, and again blowing the stack here early for me. This is my number 1.
Me too.
Oh, very cool, man. I just absolutely love this song. I always have. I think one reason I love it is it's just so different from what that Kiss sound was that you would expect, and to hear this coming from Gene and Paul, and I just love. I like the little drum beat to it, and it just has this weird kind of flow, and then when the chorus kicks in, I love Gene's vocals, like how they stand out. The little harmony and high voice there, and just totally love the song so much. When it came on, and it was kind of unfortunate that it was the second song out of the 10, because it was like my favorite. I wanted to play it again, but yeah, I've just always loved this track, and just I don't know, just something about it. It's just such a far different aspect, and just a great song.
Groove there is just impeccable. That whole song, the wah guitar that's kind of like the main riff, it makes the main riff. I'm not generally a fan of wah, but if that wah hadn't been on there, it would have been a totally different riff. Wouldn't have been as cool or interesting. So that I was enjoying that throughout the whole thing. And then strangely, I'm not expecting this at all, but since it happened several times in the song, it gave me the same vibe every time. The chorus just almost says The Elder to me.
Yeah, I could see that. There's a few like weird things throughout this album that are, because like as I was listening to it, the whole thing. I mean, this is almost like an alternate version of Dress to Kill. Like it literally has pretty much the same production. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's little harmonicas in there and stuff too, and
yeah.
Oh, dude, just so much better. I this version compared to the first session, I love this one so much more. Great song, man. I wish they would pull this out and play it acoustically or something, like on the cruise or whatever. That would be so awesome.
Nobody see that coming.
enough of yelling out Elder songs. Let's start yelling out some Wicked Lester songs. Come on, people.
Yes.
Track number 3, Keep Me Waiting. And this is my number 3. And this is another great Paul track. Of course, this is one of the songs that we got on the box set, which was probably the first time I heard a good, proper quality version of it. But again, it starts off kind of, sort of, I don't know, kind of psyche in a way. There's these, I don't know, what is that at the beginning? That dun 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 dun. Horns and stuff. Yeah, so it's just got like this total feel to it. And then it just kind of cuts down into Paul vocals, kind of just going on, strumming on the guitar. And again, great chorus, very catchy, good stuff.
Yep. Didn't see the horns coming. I should have. I read the Wikipedia page before I listened. I saw that by Brooke Ostrander. Still didn't see it coming. It came in. I was like, whoa, all right. Cool. But yeah, the acoustic guitars were a great touch. Here with the near field monitors, you could really hear the left and right separation. And then the change in the middle caught me off guard too, and I really enjoyed that. That one ended up being my number 6.
Nice. All right, track number 4, Simple Type. This was my number 2. Another just great composition from Gene and Paul. Now, of course, Kiss did end up performing this. They did perform this live, and most of the first tour, the early shows. They never did an official recording as Kiss, unfortunately. But I like the song both ways, the way Wicked Lester and then the way Kiss ended up playing it live. Because when Kiss played it live, they kind of flip-flopped the vocals. Paul would sing the main lyrics, and then Gene would do the, I said, hey, no, all that stuff, which I felt kind of fit better, But yeah. It does kind of work both ways, though, because obviously Paul does it on this version, on the Wicked Lester stuff. And, yeah, just a real cool track, man. I really wish that Kiss had turned around and done a proper recording of it instead of just, the somewhat decent live recordings that we have floating around out there of it.
Hey, can't find the way. How do you have to keep on fighting this way? Some see it's gonna leave today.
I noticed the intro of it sounded a bit like Charisma right at the beginning. That same chord progression. Also, the production suddenly seemed a little different on this one. I don't know if maybe it was a different version or something, but seemed a little weird. It was hard to hear the vocals at first, but it was cool to hear the Gene and Paul dual vocal. Wasn't sure if that was going to happen or if it was just going to be dedicated. Paul sings one, Gene sings one, that sort of thing. The Western kind of guitar thing in the middle, that was really cool. And I also, I had gotten that feeling earlier in the album, but really here around the guitar solo, I was starting to notice that Ron Lejack has a bit of an Ace-type vibe to his solos. And so knowing that, I mean, it kind of makes a lot of sense that they'd end up being, going with Ace as the lead guitar player, just because the solos, it sounds like something Ace would have done. But also, why did this song just suddenly cut off? Was that just my version?
It did it on mine too. I believe it, because it's supposed to go straight into She. Because right at the end, you sort of hear it start, but then there's that little gap, and then She comes in, which I think might have been a different take versus, like, it's still session 2, but a different take.
Right.
versus what we have. So it didn't quite mesh together perfectly, but you can sort of hear that first little note of she right at the end of there.
Right. Right. So I ended up putting that one at number 7.
Okay. And of course, speaking of she, that is the next track. And I ranked this one at number 6. Um, again, this is pretty much as far as the the structure of the song is pretty much the same as what Kiss ended up doing. Obviously, again, total different. It's slower a little bit. The lyrics are a little more it's more of a, like, the harmony stands out a little more. It's kind of like the softer type of harmony singing. Um, and again, we have like harmonicas in the song and things like that. And I gotta hand it to that drummer, man, because he does do some cool stuff in this whole album. Um, and but this version of she, I mean, I definitely prefer the Kiss version better. But it's still cool. I mean, especially that first time you hear this stuff and you're like, wow, this is a Kiss song. Not knowing that they had done it this way previous. It's pretty cool and kind of mind blowing a little bit at first.
Yeah.
But yeah, really really good version still, I thought.
It's nice for something different, that's for sure. But my very first note here is the same thing you just said. Definitely prefer the Kiss version. For me, it was just a little bit too all over the place. Don't care for the harmonies. Like you said, the softer version, and then also there's 3-part harmony here as opposed to the 2-part harmony on the Kiss version. Seems like too much to me. I don't like how they hold the words way out, whereas on the Kiss version they cut them right out. There's a lot of the rhythm of the words, the way they're singing them is different, and it felt to me like the Kiss version fit the song better. The middle part seems a bit boring without the accents they would add later. The da 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 da. They're just playing all throughout that in this version rather than stopping. Yeah. Also, don't like the fade out ending. I like how the Kiss version just ends with a da da, cuts off. So for all of that, this one was my number 10.
There we go. And thinking about it again, like it almost has like a Western feel to it, and like you can almost picture it being in some old John Wayne, dusty, dirty, Western town, walking through while that song's playing or something. Next up is Too Many Mondays. I ranked this one at number 8. Felt like this was the one that was kind of giving me vibes of a few different Paul songs. I don't know why, but I was kind of getting a little bit of an I Still Love You vibe. I was getting a bit of a Tonight You Belong to Me vibe with some of the parts, with the guitar and the vocals. And what you could tell this was kind of the start of what was to come with Paul writing those kind of epic ballads with this song. So that I felt like this would be the place to start if you want to sit and listen to Paul's epic ballads. Start with this song first and then move into that Kiss stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the harmonies at the beginning. I wasn't sure what to make of it right when it came on, and then as it went, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Do 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 do.
Yeah. It was really giving me a like mid Beatles vibe, like Revolver era, before they started getting real weird, but when they had started dipping their toes into it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed that sort of vibe in there with it, and so I was jamming on that one. So this one ended up being my number 2.
Oh, nice. Excuse me. What's next is What Happens in the Darkness. Number 5 for me. And this is another one of them that I feel is like way left of center of the sound that you expect. I mean, that little intro riff, and then it just goes into this crazy, you know, vocal harmony, high pitch. You know, what happens in the darkness? Total, and it just totally puts me in that, you know, early '70s hippie type sound is what that vibe is.
Yeah.
But you know, I like that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a big part of me that likes like the psych rock, the '70s, like early '70s hard rock type of stuff, you know, and so this one just kind of was like perfect. And again, not expecting it from Gene and Paul, I was like, wow, like this is one of them songs that I always think of every time I talk about if someone doesn't like Kiss or is very, very casual, and then they put on something like this, which those people are maybe more into this type of music. I think they would be pleasantly surprised with this album and take a whole different liking and look at Gene and Paul a whole different way, and maybe respect their songwriting skills and abilities a little more, you know, than what they tend to be sometimes. But yeah, this is one of them songs. This and probably Sweet Ophelia are the two that kind of pop in my head whenever I, you know, think about that. Like, you know, let someone listen to these and see what they think.
Right. Yeah, that one definitely was it. I thought it was weird as soon as it started. I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. For some reason, I couldn't shake the idea of that song. I Need a Hero. I don't know what it was that was reminding me of that. I could never quite get my finger on it, but yeah, I did feel like the constant bass drum rhythm got a bit distracting after a while. But what saved the song for me was the middle part where suddenly it's Jane singing. That was my favorite part of the whole song, without a doubt. So this one did end up being my number 9.
Take it easy on yourself. Take it easy on yourself. Yeah, that song was pounding, man, on these stereo in here, man. It was that bass, that kick drum, man. So coming up next is When the Bell Rings, and this is ranked at my number 10. This one, unfortunately, it didn't really do much for me. I kind of find myself losing a little bit of attention during this song, but again, in the concept or the context of listening to the whole album, yeah, I can sit and let it play. But just personally doesn't do much for me. There wasn't a whole lot that really stands out about this song compared to all the other ones, but so that was just me on this.
Indeed, yeah, I had that one down at number 8 myself. I was actually struggling to find anything to even write notes about it till near the end. You know, what I did write was that again, getting some real Ace vibes from that guitar solo.
Yeah.
The word vibes in every note. I don't know what the deal is.
See, man, that kind of music, man, you get the vibe.
All about vibes. Yeah, I thought the key change near the end was interesting. And then what was Gene doing with his voice? Like at the end, it was like he just started screwing around, and they all thought it was funny, so he kept doing it. You know? What?
Maybe that's subconsciously why I didn't like this song that much.
Maybe, yeah.
So you suddenly had like 20 incense sticks lit around you, and
The vibe in here is killing me, man.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Up next, Molly. Were they talking about a girl or were they talking about something recreational?
Hard
We
to
don't know.
The Wikipedia
And
says the alternate title of this song is Some Other Guy.
yeah.
So, I don't know.
I thought he was going to say like the other title was Drug We Like. I don't know.
Yeah, but are they?
So I ranked this at number 9, if I didn't say that already. And I felt like this was, like, I know this is way before Beth came out, but I felt like this was like them trying to write a song that became what Beth became. You know what I mean? Like, like it's almost like they wanted this to be the big hit and the song that they get the attention over. But I mean, other than that, it wasn't too bad. I don't really have anything horrible to say about it. And again, it was just unfortunately, being towards the end of the album, it was got a little slow. So that's the only reason I ranked it there at number 9.
Right. Yeah. This one was difficult for me too. Again, I was getting that Revolver era Beatles thing, and I was enjoying it. But I couldn't find anything else to note about the song. It didn't seem special, but it wasn't bad at all. I was still kind of bobbing along to it and enjoying what I was hearing. I ranked it at number 4, but yeah, that one gave me a lot of. Does it deserve that spot? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So coming into the last track here, it definitely kind of picks back up to end the album. Apparently, there's basically 2 different titles of this, depending on which version. It's "We Want to Shout It Out Loud," and then in this case, it's "I Want to Shout It Out Loud," right? Or just "Shout It Out."
I think the title of my song said "I Want to Shout."
I want to shout. Okay, so "We Want to Shout It Out Loud," and then "I Want to Shout." So of course, the very first time I saw that album title or that song title, listened to it, I'm expecting, some weird folky version of "Shout It Out Loud," with the same type of vocals and stuff. Obviously, nowhere near, no, not even close. But it's a cool song. I like how it starts. Gene's little vocals there at the beginning are nice, and just another good. I guess you could call this the anthem of the album in a way,
Right.
Because it still has kind of that, cheer along type of chorus. How "Shout It Out Loud" later down the road ended up having too. But yeah, I thought it was a good close to the album, or for this version of it, and definitely helped pick things back up.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I liked the the mid pace felt good on this. The harmonies in the chorus were really cool. Surely this had to have been the inspiration for the song "Shout It Out Loud." At least the the lyric in there. They were like, we should do a song about that. Surely. I do wish it had some other parts in it, though. By the end, it kind of felt like they were just doing the chorus over and over. So that was my only complaint about it, was that I kind of wish there had been some more verses or another guitar solo or something else to kind of break it up. But having said that, this was my number 3.
Oh, and I think I forgot to mention this is my number 7. So that wraps up that album, Wicked Lester.
Indeed.
So as far as an overall ranking, I'm going to give this an 8. I've like I said, I've loved this album for years, and I love that it's different. That it doesn't sound like what you would expect to hear from, the first Kiss demos and the first album, any of that kind of stuff. I love the difference in it, and it does sound, like it's time, and kind of put you in that mindset. And for that matter, I mean, the quality, as far as the overall recording quality, the production quality, really stands out. I mean, you would expect some old tapes that were thrown away that it'd be some pretty horrible transfers, but a lot of this stuff was pretty much top of the line sound. I mean, it literally sounded like it came right off a CD of the real thing or whatever. So that's a big reason it got the high points from me as well. It just really stands out. And again, I'm telling you, if you're one of those people that about this but you've never heard it and you're hesitant, just give it a shot, man. Like, especially if you're a huge Kiss fan like we all are, you gotta at least give it a shot. So don't rob yourself of what you're missing. Listen to it at least once, and then, hey, if you hate it, at least then you can say you at least gave it a chance. But so that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, I really enjoyed this album a lot more than I expected to. You know, kind of like we were talking at the beginning. I tried to go into it without any sort of idea, just so that I wouldn't get super disappointed. I already knew that I didn't really care for the version of She, so I kind of thought, yeah, what if the whole thing's like that? So I was very impressed. I was definitely, you know, and again, like you said too, this was a bit closer to what I was expecting from the Chelsea album, and then didn't
Right.
didn't get. But yeah, really interesting to hear Gene and Paul's pre-Kiss vocals, uh, hear early versions of the songs that would become Kiss classics. The production, pretty good for, especially for the time period. Way better than the Chelsea album. That's for a lot of that extra stuff, like the percussion and the horns, some of the keyboard stuff or piano stuff. It was interesting. Sometimes it felt like it wasn't necessary, but it didn't detract necessarily. But I get the feeling, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but I kind of feel like maybe some of those things were what drove Gene and Paul away from the sound of Wicked Lester to a more straightforward rock. You know what I mean? Like, let's get away from all that extra weird, like horns, and you got 100 maraca tracks and everything. But I think a lot of their earlier influence shine through a little bit better on this stuff than with the early Kiss stuff. You know what I mean? Especially that Beatles. You hear them all the time talk about how much the Beatles influenced them, but at least to me, I hear a lot more of that Beatles influence on the Wicked Lester stuff than any of the Kiss stuff, just about.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, it's. I think for me, I kept keeping in mind that the first Kiss album was like right around the corner from when this happened, and so it's hard not to compare the two. But it's cool to hear the evolution, knowing that this and then that were like right next to each other almost. You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing, how quick that. Because I guess the way I understood it is, Gene and Paul decided when they realized, okay, we want to do something different that no one's seen. Well, they needed to change their sound, and and the way it just seems like it came so quickly, and you know what? I'm sure Ace helped with that. When he came in, bringing his different style, and I'm sure he helped kind of fatten a lot of that stuff up. And maybe Peter for that matter when he got with them, and because again at the time he was more of that real aggressive sort of drummer, and just full of energy, and so he kind of helped bring that too. And I think that's one reason they again didn't want that sound to be out there. Once the Kiss thing took off, and
Right.
but at this point it's like, who cares, man? We all know about it. So many people love it.
Yeah.
If Gene and Paul are living in some world where they think that it's like gone and no one knows about it or is ever going to hear it, they totally don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, we're at the end of Kiss now, it looks like, and so maybe once this is all said and done, then put out an official release of this album, stuff like that. Just why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to hear a modern remix of this too. Obviously the same tracks and everything, but mixed with modern techniques, just to
Right.
see what other little things end up popping out that you don't even hear from the bootleg mixes.
Don't go in and try to re-record them like you
No.
did the other Kiss songs. Oh Lord, just put them out as is, clean them up. I like how this album was kind of like your Asylum, like the way it was for me. Like, oh, this was a lot better than I originally expected, and
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed it a lot. I went ahead and gave it a 6.5. I feel like that's debatable. I thought about going 7, and then I thought, yeah, I don't know if I want to go starting, because I gave almost every Kiss album a 7. I don't know that this compares to any of those Kiss albums that I gave a 7, so we'll go 6.5.
Here we are, episode 2, and I pretty much did this on the first thing. I'm gonna say it, but I'm probably gonna end up proving myself wrong again. This might be the highest ranking that I give anything for this whole list is an 8. But then again, I might be saying that, and one of these that pop up, I'm suddenly gonna Oh yeah, I forgot.
Right. Yeah, I think I agree. I was just thinking that too, is that I'm gonna have to be really blown away to give any one of these a 10.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to be absolutely baffled, and it's my new favorite album of all time now for any of this to become a 10. But
I mean, as much of that Fraley's comment stuff I like and whatnot, I don't see it being an 8 because you know that's just what I'm saying as we sit here now. But
right, right,
and and again, don't worry, people, because there are still going to be some official Kiss releases in this whole series, so it's not going to be all solo type things or things that members appeared on of other people. So there will be actual Kiss releases here and there. Um, especially with the box set once we get down to that point, and some of the other releases, kind of like compilation type things, and so there will be, definitely the Kiss stuff represented still. So what is coming up next week?
So we're gonna start getting into the really, really weird stuff next week. I'm curious. I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I just closed the thing, and I shouldn't have. We are going to be doing Dan Hartman's Instant Replay, on which Vinnie Vincent was the guitarist.
Is that the one that has that Happy Birthday America or whatever? USA?
Sure.
Yeah, we're we started this thing off with a fairly decent album, did a really great one this week, and now it starts to get weird.
Yeah, the 2 weeks are both albums that Vinnie played on. And again, this isn't just guest appearances. We only included albums where a member of Kiss played the entire album. So,
Right.
so the next 2 weeks are both weird Vinnie albums.
And hey, I'm kind of interested. I've never obviously listened to that Dan Hartman stuff. I may have heard that Happy Birthday USA a time or two, but hey, it's going to be interesting.
For sure. For sure. All right. Well, you ready for some rankings?
Let's get into it.
All right. So please, God, everybody put your votes in. Too many ties.
Too many Mondays.
Too many Mondays. Too many ties. And then if it's, I think when the bell rings, it's too many people. Yes. So at least we got a clear 1, 2, 3, but then everything after that's a mess. So please get your votes in. Okay. So in last place, 7th place for this episode. Yeah. When the bell rings. Oh, geez. 7th place. Yeah. Coming in after that, fairly close actually, in 6th place is She, surprisingly. So yeah, you're dead last and then my dead last. It's a bit skewed. Tied for 5th place, we've got Molly and What Happens in the Darkness. In an absolutely epic 3-way tie for 4th place, Keep Waiting, Too Many Mondays, and I Want to Shout. And then our top 3 for this week. In 3rd place, Simple Type. In 2nd place, Love Her All I Can. And of course, in 1st place, Ophelia, being both of us put that as number 1. So obviously that was a landslide victory there until we start getting some other people.
That's that's probably the least amount of time that'll be number 1, because I'm sure that'll get knocked out.
Yeah, we'll find out real quick. So we did a 7.3 overall, 7.3 out of 10 average. So quite a bit in the lead. I don't remember exactly what Chelsea got, but it wasn't good.
So yeah, as of right now, those are the standings. I'm sure those will change once we get some more input showing up. So we'll be sure to update that next week. Oh yeah, we lied again. I know we talked about doing our top 25 Kiss songs. Once again, we forgot this week. We do apologize. Seriously, just so much has been going on that by the time we were about to get on here, that's when it suddenly hit our heads that we forgot to do it. So we promise we will get that done.
Yes.
whether it's next week or it ends up being its own little separate show to slide in here, we'll get it done. I promise. We will deliver. All right, so I guess that wraps it up for Wicked Lester. Again, we hope you guys give this thing a listen. If you were on the fence, hopefully maybe we helped you out and kind of make you want to give it a shot, and please do. So please make sure, keep sending your votes in for Wicked Lester and Chelsea for that matter. And then the Dan Hartman album that is coming up next week, we'll be sure to start posting these on the Facebook page too to kind of help you guys out. So it's going to be start getting interesting next week. So
that's for sure.
So until next week, then we will see y'all later. Take care.